Cool. All right, feel free to take a seat. My name is Leo. uh, People know me. Lionel is my name. It's Leo for short. Leo is my DJ name. I play a lot of hip hop and R&B. I do a lot of flips and edits that are like little bassy sounds, a lot of house remixes, more of a selection type sound. That's my niche or my MA, or what I'm kind of known for. On the flip side, I also have an alter ego called El Rich, and that's my hip hop recording artist brand. So we got Leo and we got El Rich, as you see on the TV. If you want to follow along, it's going to be on there. Let's go to the next slide. Before we go any further, on the next slide. Thank you, sir. I wanted to say thank you. I'm one of the producers of the Spotlight Music Industry Forum, so I truly do mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all for buying tickets and even being here. There's a lot of cool people coming up for the rest of the day, and you're going to learn a lot of knowledge. But staff, thank you. Everyone that sponsored us and made this event happen, thank you. Media and panelists that are all out here, especially the guys that I just talked to, thank you very much. Let's move forward. Okay. Artists as a business. So it was supposed to be me speaking first and then the panel. So it was going to be artists as a business and then creating opportunities, but we switched those around. Just got finished with creating opportunities, and now we're talking about artists as a business. Go ahead and move forward. All right, so I want to explain myself and my story and how I ended up becoming a full-time artist and earning just under $90,000 in my first year. I know that Christine just talked about this a little bit, how to build up the funnel. I did this literally last year. So I quit my 9-to-5 job that I hated going to every single day in March of 2021. And now it's March of 2022. So that was 1 year ago from today. I'm basically going to tell you guys everything that I did. Thank you very much. And I hope you take some notes. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but I want to tell you exactly what's in my head, get into your head so you can have ideas of how you can potentially do that as well. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself. So I'm going to split it up into 5 sections, and the first chapter is called My Upbringing. So I am from Las Vegas. It's all right. You can keep it on that last one. Yeah. The first one is about my upbringing. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. I was born into a broken home. So domestic violence, gambling addiction, alcohol, and drug abuse was pretty much what I had to experience growing up from day one, right? With domestic violence, I can remember as early as 3rd grade is my first experience of my parents fighting. There was knives involved, there were bats involved, there were a lot of cops involved, right? For the abuse, they were abusing each other, and they were also abusing drugs. So the drugs of choice at that time for them was, I saw crack cocaine and some methamphetamine. Unfortunately for myself, I was trapped in that environment, and when I got into my early years, 7th grade, I started to experiment with these drugs myself. It was totally normal for me, and I see it around, so I say, oh, let's give it a shot. By the time I left 7th grade, I had tried mushrooms, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, Adderall, Lortab, Xanax, you name it. It was unfortunate, by 8th grade, I got expelled from the school system, left the public school system to an opportunity school called Cowan, where everybody had to wear the same clothes, take their shoes off, empty their pockets, empty their backpacks every time you went in and out. And by 9th grade, I said, screw school overall. I was officially a dropout. Considered truant, straight Fs across the board, and I stopped going completely. So that's my upbringing. However, I'm not going to give you a sorrow story because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So moving on to chapter 2 is the redemption. Going into my sophomore year of high school, I started to meet a couple of people who wanted to help turn my life around. Bring me around some good kids, and then these guys wanted me to try out for the sports team. That sports team actually changed my life, and so did the coach that put me on the team. I don't know if you know this or not, but if you don't have the grades, you cannot play. There's limited number of people that can get onto the sports team. They sacrifice someone that can play the entire season for me just so I can hang out at practice after work versus leaving school to go smoke some weed. What that allowed me to do was actually get my grades up because I eventually wanted to play and show him that his decision of allowing me on the team was worth it. The other thing that I got involved with my sophomore year was choir. And I had made the advanced choir sophomore year. And at that same time, I picked up my first copy of FL Studios. Back then, it was called Fruity Loops. So overall, I think a mix of music and sports kind of got me back into my, what I considered back into my good self, right? After years of experimentation. I ended up graduating high school with a 3.5 GPA, advanced diploma. Thank you. And I entered my high school talent show my senior year, and I won the senior year talent show by doing an original song. And I consider this my first sold-out show because every seat in the entire theater was booked from front to back, left to right. So 18 years old, I consider that my first sold-out show. Now we're talking about scaling up. So moving on to the next chapter of my life, it is college. I never thought I would go to college. In my household, if you ask for money, what would my parents say? Anybody know if you come from a poor family? We broke. We don't got no money. So what was I thinking? I'm going to go to college. I didn't know how I was going to pay for that. 13 days before UNLV started, someone had a conversation to me about FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A. If you don't know what that is, it's what gets you student grants, student loans, and scholarships. I must have skipped school that day or every day that they taught about that because I had no fucking clue what FAFSA was. 13 days out from the deadline to pay for classes, someone told me about that. I hopped on and applied. A couple days later, I got accepted. All right, so in the timeline, there's 3 days left until I have to pay for classes. Because I filed literally last minute, it was a 2-month wait until my funds are going to hit my account. I had to go find another savior who could spot me $2,000 to pay for my first semester. I showed them the paperwork. They trusted that I was good for it, and a few months later, I was able to transfer them back the money. So when I got to college, I told myself a few things. I got to fucking put my all into this. I fucked around in middle school, barely went. Right, I got expelled. I barely went to high school for like my freshman, sophomore year. When I go to college, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to get involved in the community, and that's exactly what I did. I was playing intramural sports. I did a couple more talent shows where I was rapping. And then I was involved in the recycling program, and then I joined a fraternity. And by 20 years old, I was the president of that fraternity. That's how involved I was. So with that said, the things that I learned from joining the fraternity was how to throw events. And if you guys don't know about fraternity, you actually have a budget of money, and you go out there and you throw philanthropic events, community service events, and then on the flip side, you throw in parties. At 20 years old, I was in control of a $100,000 budget, credit card with my name on it with $100,000. And I was able to start throwing my first events through that budget. And at an early age, I was dealing with contracts, budgets, talking to venue management, so it came natural to me to start doing that later in life. Everything I went through all comes full circle. So college happens, I learn a lot, and then I join my first career. When I got out of school, the career that I had was at a company that's now called Pollen. Has anybody ever heard of Pollen? Raise your hand. Couple in the back. Okay, about a half dozen. What Pollen does is they promote their own events. So they build their events from the ground up. They actually had a J Balvin weekend that sold out 3 weekends in a row. They also partner with other music festivals, major music festivals, Glastonbury in Europe, Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo, you name it, and they resell tickets to those music festivals. And then they also do what these things called like spring break trips or ski trips where people go attend. They party in the day on the beach or they ski on the beach, and then at night they pop up a big concert and celebrities come out and play. Biggest names I think was like Migos, Rick Ross, Wiz Khalifa. On the electronic end, like Steve Aoki. So some pretty big names. I worked for them as a salesperson. And my sales region was everything on the West Coast. So it was Colorado to Oregon, Oregon down to California, and everything in between. I can name every single college going up the coast and going down each borderline of each state in that area. What was cool is I was already loving to party, and I have a passion for music. So when I went out to these colleges and told people about it, I was able to sell a lot of tickets. And eventually, what I did with that money, I was broke my whole life, never had a car that worked longer than a month. I went and bought my first car ever, drove it off the lot with 11 miles, and it's now paid off today. Let's go. I bought my first house, and I got my necessities out the way, and guess what the next thing I built was? Anybody have a guess? A music studio in the crib. Let's go. So I started making some music, practicing some DJing, and once I got confident enough, I was approaching these promoters that I worked for and asking the producers if I can open up for some of their artists. And because I helped them out, they knew my name, like what all these guys were saying, they said yes. I opened for Playboy Cardi. Let's see. For the electronic end, I opened for E-Collie, Troy Boy, hip-hop legend, KRS-One, just to name a few. And then I had 2 great bookings that were coming up that unfortunately got canceled because of COVID. That was Wiz Khalifa as a direct support act. And then on the electronic end, I was opening up for Fisher. So if anybody knows that guy, he's huge right now. Those 2 got canceled because of COVID. And guess what else got canceled? My job. So I lost pretty much everything overnight that I'd been with since college graduation. And I started to think to myself, chapter 5, let's take this music thing serious and take the leap. So I did actually get the job back from December of 2020 through March of 2021. But in March of 2021 is when I said, I'm done. I'm going to go. I'm going to go try this music thing out. And what I did was spend a bunch of money on books. I read a dozen books, watched hours of YouTube a day, and then read a bunch of articles and even attended music conferences just like this. So let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so just a couple photos. That top one there is me at my first event ever DJing for 20 people. The middle photo is a small little crowd, and then the big photo is the bigger crowd. So that's just a journey right there. Let's go to the next slide, please, and thank you. This is some hip-hop stuff. That small photo on the black and white is it was me and my mans right here, APH, in 2014, almost 10 years ago. That middle is actually an opening act for ASAP 12E on ASAP Mob, and that was a sold-out show. And then last but not least, that's 1,500 check-ins at that last picture with me in the front of the crowd. So what I want to explain is how I was able to build myself into a business, and hopefully you guys can take a few things from my experience. Let's go to the last slide, please, and thank you. Oh, sorry. All right, so before I move forward, I want to say this. All right, in my personal opinion, I don't think money as an artist is a factor. You can make $1,000 off music. If it's your first time making $1,000 off music, that's success. If you had a $25,000 paying job at an office, you quit your job, the next year you made $26,000, that's success. So when you're looking at someone like Ariana Grande or Bruno Mars making millions of dollars touring the world, yeah, they're successful, but you're just as successful. The number's arbitrary to your situation. You can't compare yourself to other people. So look at it that way, in my personal opinion. And then second, I got to play Life is Beautiful last year. Crowd was about 1,000 people at its peak. And on the website, my name was right next to Ludacris and Megan Thee Stallion. And you know, I'm looking at these big old names on the headliners, and then you see these festivals with little tiny names for people that are playing at 2, 3, 4 p.m. Don't also compare yourself to those headliners, because in my personal opinion, again, some of these people are going through a lot of stress. They got to deal with paparazzis. They got to deal with red carpet. They got to deal with interviews 24/7. They're nonstop, go, go, go. They don't get to see their kids or their family. You can be the bottom line on a festival lineup, do some stuff like me and Christina are doing, turn you 6 figures, $100,000, and you can sleep in every day. You can make your own schedule. So who's actually more successful, the $1 million that don't get to see their family and has to tour around the world all the time, or the $100,000 person that lives the life however they want to? It's all arbitrary, and it's really how you perceive success. So With that said, let's talk about how I turned myself into a business. Next slide. All right. Feel free to take some notes here. The first thing I did was become legit. I got myself a business license. I filed for an EIN, and then I got myself a bank account. So the license that I did was an LLC, and someone explained it to me. You don't want to get sued and lose all your money. Imagine you're playing a show where you're connected to the event. You're the headliner, you put it together, whatever. A speaker falls on someone's head. They get hurt. You need liability and protection. They're going to come after you. They can take your savings account, your car, your house, you name it. If you got an LLC, they can only take the money that's in the bank. Go ahead and bankrupt it. You're not emptying out my entire life savings, right? Once you get that license, you'll get distributed an EIN. You'll need that number to go get a bank account or a business card. What's cool about it these days, some business cards offer up to 10 grand for a first-time application at a 0% interest rate. So for me, how I looked at it was, why am I going to go try to get on a label that's going to take my master's, majority of my money, or go get a loan from the bank that you have to pay 10, 15, 20% interest back potentially? I'm going to go find a low-interest credit card or hopefully a no-interest credit card so I can fund my venture for the first year. Free money, basically, with no interest. Once I got that bank account, by the way, the best thing about having that bank account, I was able to track everything I spent on music and everything I made on music into that one account. If I lost a little bit of money, all good. It was a learning experience. If I broke even, that's a win. But for me, thankfully, I was able to make some money because I tracked it all on that card. So next thing is invest in yourself. You got the credit card. And again, this isn't everybody's route. This is just what worked for me. I bought business cards. I made a website and bought a domain. I bought merch. I didn't even sell it. I gave all the bitches out for free. I went and bought new equipment, a better microphone so my music could sound better. I bought all the plugins that I wanted, but I just saw ads before I never had. And then I decided I'm going to make some good content. I'm going to book a photographer, get some good headshots. I'm going to get a video editor, right? And at that point, you spent a lot of money on the credit card. You got to go recoup that shit. So for me, I see getting money in two ways. You have a product or a service. A product is essentially like a shirt and a hat or selling a vinyl record. Your services can be anything. And I think Christine was talking about this a little bit, but don't, in my opinion, don't be so tuned in on only doing gigs, right? You can teach music lessons. You can also do gigs, yes. Music lessons was like the first service that I started doing. Actually, one of my students is in the crowd, and now she's getting booked like 2 times a week at various venues, and she's actually coming here to level up her career. The music lessons is a good thing. You're still doing music, right? A lot of people actually get out of doing the original songs and start doing covers. And yes, you can throw in a few of your original songs, but do that for a little bit until you get recognized enough to where you can play a whole hour set of just your own music and get paid for it. Yep. For me, I took the DJ route because I don't play instruments that well. So I was like, yo, I'm going to just start DJing. My average rate at this point is $150 an hour, and I still play like 2 or 3 of my own tracks every set. And by the end of last year, I was able to get booked and play an entire hour set of all of my original music. I just had to start there. So how did I sell myself? I would write this down right now. You need an EPK. If you don't know what that is, it's an electronic press kit. And a lot of these venues, including Kirk at Brooklyn Bowl, when I first asked him, hey, can I have my friend open up for this act? I think she's perfect. The first thing he asked me was send me her electronic press kit, all right, EPK. The second thing that's going to happen every time you try to sell yourself and you actually do the service, you're going to need to send the business an invoice. Invoices, a lot of people don't know how to fill those out. They're super, super easy. And then the last thing I wrote down was, CRM. So this stands for Customer Relationship Management, CRM. And every big business in the world has a CRM. Amazon, Apple, Tesla, you name it, they have something called CRM. I'm not going to be able to go in depth in it, but go research CRM, see what the valuable things are of having that and how it benefits your sales plans. So I mean, when I went on sale and said, hey, I need to go get some gigs, I wrote down a spreadsheet of every single gig or every single bar and every single venue and every single club in the entire city. I went on Google, put the spreadsheet down. I put every contact that I could find on the internet, emails, phone numbers, and I said, all right, I'm just going to email all these people. I'm going to email them again. If they don't email back, I'm going to call them. And if they don't answer the call, I'm going to walk my ass up in there and give them my press kit myself. So that was my approach. I don't think that everybody has to do that, but I got on the radar of a few people, and then eventually I locked in some residencies and got reoccurring cash week over week. Next is expansion. So this whole process, I was actually managing my own website. I was designing my own cards and flyers, shopping myself around, marketing myself, and I realized there's no way I can scale if I'm doing everything alone. So I went out and I built a team. First thing I got was an accountant. He doesn't work for me full time. I pay this dude $50 a month, and I file my taxes successfully at the end of the year. I then found a tax accountant. She charges $200 a year. Someone that actually is running my media right now is here. Hi. And then I found someone that can help me with sales. He's actually sitting right here. So delegating some of these things actually helped me to be able to focus on myself again because I was running around 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think building a brand and trusting people is important. Invest a little bit of money in them, or find people that really, really believe in you that will do it voluntarily. And then last but not least, for the brand and the business, I just was saying, all right, be a good person. Be humble, be authentic, and go above and beyond. And I think, the reason why I got this relationship with Kirk and then got booked by the Tuesday Blend guys, even though they had a wait list and I was able to skip it, was every time I was around people in the industry that were hosting events, I was looking at the event, and I said, yo, like, the line's super long. I come to a lot of your events. Do you mind, can I help you with the door to get these people through, right? If I see people at the bathroom and there's a super long line, it's clogging up everything, but I know there's a second bathroom, I walk my happy ass over there, took half the line to the other bathroom just so they can flow better. Going above and beyond really helped me, and volunteering myself to all these people and these promoters and these venues. The venue management saw who I was, the promoters knew who I was, and so when I asked for a favor of opening for my favorite act, they put me on. So yeah, that's my 5 business strategies. Thank you guys so much for listening to me today, ramble into your ears. Let's eat some lunch. Let's go.